Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me once again for tea time. Today we have a little bit of fireside. That smokiness of the lap sung is just so good, so good. So I hope you're hanging out with me, enjoying your cup of tea or maybe a cup of me. Whichever, doesn't matter. I'm glad you are here. So today is going to be, as you can tell by the title of this video, Nikon posts a loss of nearly $700 million in revenue for 2021. Their fiscal year ends March of 2021. So before I go any further, I want to say that if you haven't downloaded my ebook as of yet, go check it out over at JCristina.com/ebook. Once again, JCristina.com/ebook. 10 tips at making tack sharp images. There's something there for everyone. Doesn't matter if you are an amateur, a pro-am, or a professional. And it's at a great price right now. An absolutely awesome price. It is free. Once again, JCristina.com/ebook. 10 tips at making tack sharp images. Go check it out. I guess the news is positive and negative, and it depends on how you look at it. But we're going to look at a couple of different aspects of it and look at the numbers and see what the hell happened. Okay, this is important because when we look at these numbers and compare them to the other two, the big guys, let's say, on the block, which would be Canon and Sony, they're not posting numbers like this. And they went through the exact same problems when it comes to the pandemic and all the rest of this stuff. So why is this? And we're going to get into it a little bit. What I did do is I pulled the card, as I do. And as you can see right here, we have the Hanged Man. Now, some people are like, what exactly does that even mean? That is a weird looking card. Why is this guy hanging upside down? What it means is we need to pause for a second and look at things from a different perspective. It just reminds me of the saying that says, what got you here won't get you there. You've heard of that, right? What got you here won't get you there. And that is exactly what I feel for Nikon. They're not in a good place, in my personal opinion, because I feel like they're looking at the world of imaging out of eyes from the past in comparison to the present. And we saw that when it came to the very first Z6 and Z7 that came out, when they didn't have a battery grip, nor a vertical grip, let's call it, that had buttons. And it took a year for them to actually come out with a grip, but still not a vertical grip because there's no actual connection underneath the camera. So they were able to come up with a battery grip, but like I said, it was a year later. So there's been some missteps. Now, we can see these missteps based on their profitability or lack thereof. And we're going to look at that right now. Now, like I said, there has been shrinkage in the market, and this has been going on for 10 years. This is nothing new. I've been covering the market forever. All right, all the way from back in, I think, 2008, 2007, actually doing the circuit, WPPI, Photo Plus Expo, all over the place, covering the different shows, having a booth with Trevor Current, Digital Photography Cafe, reporting to you guys. It was a podcast at the time, 10 years ago, but reporting to you guys, doing interviews with the CEOs and all the rest of this stuff. So I've been doing this for a long time, and I see where it's been going, and I've been telling you guys about it, and I predicted this loss about a month or two ago. You can go back in some videos. I said $700 million would be the number. And I was only off by like 11 million. I think it's like 689 million that they're out in revenue. But we'll get into that in just a second. So I want you to be the judge. What do you think after you listen to these numbers? Now, I wrote down some notes here so that we get the exact numbers. I don't want to just wing it. So we know exactly what their Q1 to Q3 looks like. For Nikon, so that you understand the figures. What we're doing is we're using a consolidated numbers from Q1 through Q3, because if we look at just Q3, it would just be so abysmal, worse than it is, based on obviously what happened with the entire world and the flu. So that being said, we're looking at April 1st through December 31st of 2020. So the numbers look like this. Nikon's imaging product business revenue for fiscal year 2021, that's Q1 through Q3, was 116.7 billion yen. That is $1.1 billion US. I'm going to stop saying yen. I'm just going to give you US because a lot of people will get it kind of confused. All right. So I'm not going to say the yen anymore. It's going to be dollars, period. So 1.1 billion US versus fiscal year of 2020, that is Q1 through Q3, of 1.8 billion US. So that's a decrease in revenue of about 38% year over year. It's not good. What is that 38%? What is that magic number? That is a decrease in revenue of $689 million. Now remember, I predicted 700 million was going to be that magic number that was going to come out in March. We got the numbers early. So I'm 11 million off. Now with the yen changing value, who knows? Maybe by the time you see this, I'll be right. But honestly, I don't want to be right. These numbers are just horrible. Absolutely horrible. $700 million loss, March 2021. Okay, that's a lot of money, a lot. Just think about it in the scope of things. Losing almost $750 million US, whereas other companies are either losing very little or they're actually making a tiny bit of profit. That's crazy, right? That is absolutely crazy, the disparity between the three large players, Sony, Canon, and Nikon. So we'll get into that a little bit, why this is or why I think it is, and I want to know your thoughts also. Now, to continue, during the same period of time in fiscal year 2021, that's Q1 through Q3, Nikon's operating loss was $665 million US. That's a decrease of $277 million for the same period last year, which still shows a operating profit, a slight profit, very tiny, of $11.3 million. So operating profit, they made $11 million. This is like a $1 billion company. They made $11 million. Their total revenue is negative $689 million. So as you can see, this is just abysmal numbers, absolutely abysmal. But there is a silver lining, right? Or there could be, and it depends on how you look at it. Is the glass half full? Is it half empty? It depends. Now, what they're saying is these losses were due to certain things that they were doing. So number one, $151 million of this is due to, as they call it, fixed asset impairments, as well as disposal / write down of inventory during Q2 through Q3. Now, I'll get back into that in just a second. Number two, $11 million of this loss was due to their restructuring expenses. Now, back to the first one. $151 million from impairment and disposal / write down or write offs. Okay, basically inventory that has to be trashed through Q2 and Q3. Now, I can understand that because some of the machinery that was being used in Japan in their domestic factory no longer needed to be used and was sold or gotten rid of during this time frame as everything moved into Thailand for production. I can see that. All right, I can see that being the case. But some people out there have speculated that this inventory, let's say disposal, all right, a lot of it was DSLRs. And basically Nikon was disposing of a lot of DSLRs that they weren't selling or needing. And I kind of don't believe that. All right, that's just my opinion. I don't believe that. And the reason I don't believe that is because I remember doing a report on Nikon and where they were making their money. And they were making the majority of their money during this period of time selling DSLRs and not their mirrorless line, which was like the Z6 and the Z7. As I said, the Z6 and the Z7 were really not a stellar product at the time. A lot of people just had issues with it because they felt that it was half-baked. So in my personal opinion, while yes, they were getting rid of a lot of DSLRs, and they did incur a lot of loss, $151 million of loss. I think a lot of it has to do with their Z6 and their Z7. I don't think they sold enough of them, and they probably had to take them apart and start using the parts again, right? That disposal, let's call it. All right, so this is my opinion. Don't quote me on this. I really don't know their business model. The only thing that I do know is when I saw the numbers based on Nikon and what their sales were, the majority of their sales were on DSLRs and not their mirrorless line during that period of time. So take it as you will, okay? You be the judge, as I always say. I just give you the facts as I see them or as I know them, give you my commentary, and then you judge however, like I said, you will. So some other information that I found really fascinating here was Nikon is now revising their full year, all right, what they think is going to happen, their full year for 2021, their revenue and their operating profits, but positively, okay, that they're going to be increasing, which is really quite good. This might be that silver lining. Now, what they stated was their revenue will increase by $45 million to $1.3 million. Still, tiny. When you deal with millions from $1 billion business, millions, especially 1 million, that is a small amount of revenue. Positive or not, it's tiny. Also, their operating profits will change to negative $382 million. So understand that this fiscal year, they're stating that they will have a loss of $689 million. Let's call it $700 million. But they're going to be doing exceptionally well for 2021, and they will only lose $382 million. I don't know. That kind of slight increase, yes. Okay, so they're going to lose $300 million less because they moved some operations, they've cut costs, and I don't know. I mean, this increase in revenue of, let's say, $300 million to get them to negative $382 million is probably due to an aggressive, very aggressive business cost reduction and nothing else. I just don't see it in like an abundance of sales in the next year, in this fiscal year, or till the end of 2021. I don't see it. Maybe you guys do. I want to hear from you. I want to know your thoughts. What Nikon has found, and I do think that this is smart on their part, is you know that they've been going away from all of the point and shoots, and you know that they've been slowly giving the axe to their DSLRs. I think they cut 5 of their DSLRs in 2019 towards the beginning of 2020. So they're removing the DSLRs slowly. But they know they're making money on them, so it's very hard to do. It's almost like cutting off your nose to spite your face, guys, right? It's hard to remove those DSLRs where they're making a lot of money. What they have found is that they're making the majority of their profit on mid to high-end cameras and not the low-end cameras, okay? They are making their money on the pro-ams and the professional photographers. That is where they need to focus, and I'm glad that they've figured this out. But always remember, the smaller cameras or the lower cost cameras that are out there from the different manufacturers are a means to an end. They are a way to bring new blood into your system. It's very hard to sell someone a $3,000 camera and say this is the way you should go for your professional work. In comparison to selling them a $1,000 camera, they get on board and they say, we absolutely love your IQ. We absolutely love your menu system. We actually love your ergo, whatever it is. And then they move forward and get the next best, the greatest camera that's more expensive. So it's kind of difficult to only focus the higher end, but that's what they're doing. And it might not be bad for them. We'll see how it goes. But they have looked at their demographics. And going forward, that's where they're pushing all of their, let's say, advertisement, all of their money for R&D is into that upper end product and moving all production to Thailand, or let's call it 99.9. Time will only tell the fate of Nikon, but I do hope that they pull out of this stronger than ever. They just need to put forth a ton of hard work. They need to focus, and I think they need a big helping of humility. We know Nikon is not the most humble of camera manufacturers, and sometimes it's to their detriment. So they need to listen to you and I and all of the rest of the Nikon users out there and give them what they want, okay? And like I said before, look at things a little bit different. Like with the Hanged Man here. Change your perspective a little bit. It is absolutely imperative sometimes to step back. Like I said, what got you here won't necessarily get you there. And if they keep that in mind, they might be able to get a new perspective on things and say, you know, maybe we need to focus a little bit differently. And by them cutting their costs, which they are, moving 100%, let's call it, to Thailand, and also now reducing costs in other manners, I know they've reduced workforce, but not to a point to their detriment. They need to make sure that their R&D stays on par and they keep up with the other two, Sony and Canon. That different perspective is necessary. And to reassess and to reevaluate where you are every year, I think, is a awesome thing. I think we should all do it. I do it all the time, and I'm sure you do also in your business. Some companies, they get stuck in the mud, so to speak, and they can't change their perspective, and they look through old glasses. And I think this is one of the things that has hurt Nikon in the recent past. But hopefully in the near future, this will change. So I want to know your thoughts. What do you think about all this? Where do you think Nikon is going? What do you think about the $689 million revenue loss for 2021, fiscal year 2021? What do you think about it? Do you think Nikon is now on a proper trajectory? What do you think about these ideas that they have, going almost only for the pro-ams and the pro market instead of the consumer market at all? Literally cutting it out altogether. What do you think about my thoughts when it comes to bringing in that loss leader or that lower end camera to bring people into your brand? Okay, Sony has it in spades with their A7 III. I've talked about it so many times in the past. If you're new, maybe this is the first time, but trust me, the A7 III from Sony brought a ton of people to that brand. Simple as that. All right, so I think Nikon needs something like that, and we'll see what they end up doing with it. I do also think that their flagship, their Z1, let's call it, which would be the equivalent to an R1, which will eventually come out, or the A1 from Sony, this upper-end, high-end professional camera, I think will be a bottom, let's say a basement, all right, a structural pillar for the company going forward, and a lot of their technology will come out of that camera. What is the R&D look on that? And it needs to come out before the Olympics. We know that. And if it doesn't, it's going to be seriously detrimental to the company. That's my opinion. Okay? So, once again, if you enjoyed this commentary, even a little bit, throw it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the little bell icon over here so when I come out with a new video or I go live, you will be notified of it immediately. If you want to help the channel out, click the little join button right down here. And when you do, you'll become a member. You give maybe $1, $2, whatever it is a month, and I can give you perks, which is also quite cool. I love doing that. And once we're done talking in the comment area below this video, head over to community.JCristina.com. Once again, community.JCristina.com, where you can find our creative Discord server. A lot of just brilliant people. We're talking tech, video, photo, everything over there every single day, 24 hours a day. Go over there. community.jcristina.com. It is free. Don't forget my ebook, of course, 10 tips at making tack sharp images. That's jcristina.com/ebook. jcristina.com/ebook. And finally, head over to my website, jcristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools that I've invented for you and me over the years, and hopefully there's something there that you might like. And if there is, please pick it up and support me and my family. That would be stellar. That's it, guys, for yet another vlog. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe and stay healthy.